In this video, I'll show you how to iterate over rows in a pandas data frame, and then we're going to talk about why you probably don't want to do that, and I'm going to show you a better way to do it. I've got a set of tweets where people have posted the score from the game Wordle. And if we run this and pull in this file, we can pull up the variable explorer in Visual Studio Code, and we can take a look at this data frame here. We can see that it has about 17,000 rows in it. So let's look at this data frame, and I'll show you what I'm trying to do and why I need to iterate over this data frame. Here we have in each row the posting that the person made to Twitter. If we mouse over, you can see this is their Wordle score right there where it says 4/6. 4 is the number of attempts out of 6. That was 4 out of 6. This one is 3 out of 6. This one is 3 out of 6. So what we need to do is find the slash and then find the number right before that for every single row. So the most straightforward way to do this is to just loop over the data frame itself. So we can say for index row in, and then the data frame itself. And then we want to use the iterrows method here. And then we can just do our logic right here. So what we want to do is find the index of that slash, and then we want to select the item right before that, which will be the number of attempts, which we're going to assign to the attempts variable there. Let's close this. And then lastly, we're just going to add another column to the data frame called attempts and put that item there, that number of attempts. And then we can just print out the mean, calculating the mean directly on the data frame. So let's go ahead and run this and see how this works. All right, so the mean score for all of the attempts in this file is 3.9 attempts. And it took about 3.3 seconds, as you can see in Visual Studio Code. It tells you the execution time. Now, this is fine when you have small sets of data. There's no problem iterating over a data frame, but usually you're working with massive sources of data, and I just so happen to have one of those. So the other file that I have is a very large file. It's called tweets big. So let's go ahead and load this into Visual Studio Code, and we'll take a look at the variable explorer again. And we can see that our data frame is quite a bit bigger now, okay? 154,000 rows in this one. Let's do the same thing using the for loop and just iterating over the data frame and watch what happens. All right, so that took about 47.5 seconds, as you can see here from the execution time, which is a long time. And you can see we got a mean of about 4 tries. So apparently Wordle takes about 4 attempts just on average. But we can speed this up dramatically using something called vectorization. Now, vectorization is a fancy word, but all it means is there are certain features of Python and pandas that are optimized to let you work with arrays without having to iterate over them. And they do that by having code that is optimized to take full advantage of your CPU, which can do a lot of different things at one time. You don't have to process one row at a time. You can process multiple rows at one time. So there are a lot of ways to do this. I'm going to show you how to do it with something called a series apply. So let's take a look at how to do that. So in our notebook here, let's add another cell. And then the first thing that we need is a function that we can apply to the data frame to do this calculation. And you can see that we're going to pass in this tweet text series as a pandas series. Now, all this is it's the tweet text column and all of the rows. So that's all we're passing in, is just that column of data there. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is really run exactly the same logic that we ran in the for loop. But we want to change so that we have this tweet text series instead of this row tweet text. So let's go ahead and pull that out here, go ahead and make that change. And then the last thing we want to do here is, instead of assigning it to the data frame, because modifying a data frame on the fly as you're looping over it is not a great idea, we're going to return this attempts value, which will return as a series. So in other words, we're passing in the column of tweet text, we're pulling out the attempts, and we're returning a series of the attempts, which we're going to append on the data frame as a new column here. So how do we call this? Well, first we need to take the data frame and we need to tell it that we're adding a new column called attempts. And we're going to set that equal to the return value of this function, which we're going to call like this. So we're going to take this data frame here and we're going to pull off just the tweet text field here, just the tweet text column rather. And then we're going to call apply on this, okay? And then when we apply, what we're going to pass in is this function that we've called count attempts apply, okay? And that's gonna call the function and apply it to this column of data. And then lastly, of course, we just wanna compute the mean just like we did before. So let's go ahead and bring that line down. Now, the other one ran in 47.5 seconds. How long do you think this one's gonna take to run? Any guesses? Let's find out. 0.2 seconds, 200 milliseconds. Wow. And you can see we get the exact same score, so you know it's right. And just so you believe me, let's just completely restart the kernel. We'll erase all variables, pull up the variable explorer so you can see everything is gone. There are no more variables. Okay, then we'll load in the big data set here into the data frame. And then let's run it again and see how long it takes after our CSV loads in, which is actually slower than iterating over the CSV. Here we go. 0.1 seconds. It's getting faster. So remember, you can use the iterrows method on a data frame to iterate over each row, but that's slow, so you want to avoid doing that and instead check out vectorized methods like a series apply, and there's even faster ways to do it. In fact, did I do it correctly? Do you think I could? How can I make this code faster? Let us know in the comments below. Hey, if you like this video and subscribe. And check out our other videos on data science, Python, Jupyter Notebooks, and Visual Studio Code. Happy coding!